One morning I awoke in a strange motel above an old country pub on the edge of the Warrego highway, and I decided to head west on the road to Eromanga. I was on the search for dinosaur bones and whimsical adventures, and the long straight road stretched out before me like a Netflix series with too many seasons. And like a behind-the-scenes photographer, I stopped and took a photo, like this one, and that one. A couple of local teenagers carelessly loitered along the side of the road. And I took a photo of a single dad with 3 kids, which would have been great if emus weren't so perfectly camouflaged to this reddish-brown, green-grey environment. And as the afternoon loomed, I checked into another motel and the sign on the door looked promising. The bed inside looked inviting, and after 1,000 bumpy kilometres, I looked forward to filling my body with some stillness. But first, I took the XT4 for a walk. Mindlessly staring into these endless empty skies had filled me with the urge to try some astrophotography, and I looked around for a foreground subject. The choice was pretty much trees or trees, and I found this one standing perfectly on its own, out here in the middle of nowhere. And just then I felt like I was being watched. And sure enough, another local gang was taunting me with their impressive camouflage, daring me to try my hand at some more wildlife photography. With these thoughts spinning through my head like a 2020 Twitter thread, I made my way back to the room and finally got some sleep. I awoke before dawn and put my boots on. Headlong into the deep, dark desert, I found the tree. The sun was already announcing its arrival as I set up the shot. Fumbling in the darkness like a first-time lover, I somehow managed to dial in some settings and get a result. The sun rose like a rising tide, and I stood there in the stillness. New adventures beckon and the search for dinosaur bones continues. It was no surprise to find sand dunes in the middle of the desert. But it was a surprise to find these large melons scattered throughout. At first I thought they'd been dumped here, but on closer inspection I could see they were growing here. Was this a mirage? I'd better take some photos to be sure. Yes, they are definitely growing here. And some look like they've been eaten, while others look like they've been left to wither and rot like something forgotten. And just to keep the Mirage collage flowing, I spent the rest of the afternoon beside this waterhole in the middle of the desert. I took a photo of the parched earth just to ground myself. The next morning I awoke and felt compelled to follow the locals, who were kind enough to wait for me. They led me to a road and I found a sign, which was a sign of things to come. And when I entered the gift shop, I knew I was finally on the right track.
So we went down the area we want to work on. So if I start scraping there, it comes off a lot easier and in wet clumps. So it's a lot easier to work with.
That afternoon, back in the room, I knew there was one more thing left to do. So I slapped the fisheye lens on the X-T4 and wandered into the wilderness once again. The flies tell me lies when I step outside, and the trees surround me like thieves. Do they know what I've seen? I ask, and they reply. I search and I find that I'm not lost. And I'm reminded to never forget these moments alone. All the flies close their eyes. And as I slowly let go, the light fades into night. The next morning barges into the room and it's time to leave. I drive in silence for a while, heading east. And then, what's an Outback adventure without the obligatory breakdown? And because new tyres don't grow on the trees, I'd be spending an unplanned 24 hours in the quaintness of Quilpie. So I took the opportunity to do a bit of regional street photography and get to know some of the locals. This one guy sidled up to me and told me to watch out for rush hour. So I made my way to higher ground just in time to escape the madness. Night closed in to ignite the riffraff roaming the streets. This little hooligan was probably on her way to deface something iconic, and she warned me not to follow. The next day I'm on my way and the new tyres are immediately put to the test with a fearsome dust storm engulfing the road. I hesitate, but as I speculate on the potential danger, it slowly starts to dissipate, and I fearlessly accelerate, still heading east and leaving the west in my wake. But the east is a long way away, and there's one more stop to make. I had to review Mitchell, I'd say a bit of a nothing town stuck halfway between east and west. But I still find the time to finish off with a few more photos. Back on the road, the green and the scenery felt like a dream. And then the world returned, and it was over.